Let's give the boy a lift. We can't stop here. This is backcountry. Get out. Hey!
Hey folks, man, this is Monk, and we are back with another episode of Classes of Cinematics, and I'm joined as always with my co-host, Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo!
Yeah, folks, so today we got a special film. We're going to be looking at the cult classic Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is based on a book by Hunter S Thompson. So this film is directed by Terry Gilliam. I believe he came out of the Monty Python crew, right? Yeah, so in this film, Raoul and his attorney, Dr. Gonzo, drive a red convertible across the Mojave Desert to Las Vegas with a suitcase full of drugs to cover a motorcycle race. As their consumption of drugs increases at an alarming rate, the Stone duo trash their hotel room and fear legal repercussions. Duke begins to drive back to LA, but after an odd run-in with the cop, he returns to Sin City and continues his wild drug binge. And our main people in this, we've got Johnny Depp playing Raoul and Benicio del Toro as Dr. Gonzo, and a host of other celebrity cast and crew that comes through kind of as, this thing feels like an odyssey, a crazy journey, and these people come in to kind of, support them on this crazy journey in various ways, man.
Spot checkers.
But let's get to the story of this thing, man.
First off, I mean, this is one of the wildest road trip movies that I think I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? Especially because it's, it's heavily motivated and revolves around just over the top drug use in every way. I mean, they're using drugs that some of them I didn't know were drugs.
I didn't know you could use recreationally.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it gets dangerous when you're pouring the drug on the cloth and putting it on your face. I'm like, well,
you just taking ether for fun?
Ether, yeah. Like what? Only ether I knew was with the Nas song when he cooked for Jay-Z. So, and it's wild. It's wild because first things first, he reads off the inventory list that they're riding with. Talk about riding dirty. He says that they have 2 bags of grass, 75 pellets of mescaline, 5 sheets of high-powered blotter acid, a salt shaker half full of cocaine, a whole galaxy of multicolored uppers, downers, laughers, screamers, also a quart of tequila, a quart of rum, a case of beer, a pint of raw ether, and 24 amyls.
I'm just thinking, how can their hearts and livers survive this, bro? Like, this is crazy.
And this is for a weekend. They got, this is like, isn't this enough drugs to last a lifetime? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's, like you said, if you don't kill yourself in the process. So, and then you find out shortly after he reads off the inventory list that they're going down. The sole purpose to go to Vegas is to cover some dirt bike race.
Dirt bike, motorcycle, dirt bike.
You know what I'm saying? And the wild thing about it is, this is, like you said, is based off a book by, Hunter S Thompson. And the book actually originated from what was supposed to be his 500-word story for Sports Illustrated on the Mini 400 desert dirt bike rally. Yeah. And Hunter ends up turning in thousands of words of like kind of nothing of his experience in Vegas that ended up becoming a novel.
But it's not also, I think, what's interesting about this, this kind of set off a wave of Gonzo journalism where the race really wasn't the subject, because I think that the article that he wrote, even though they might have not, like, this ain't what we sent you here for, a lot of people were drawn to it because it's more of the give you a broader experience. It wasn't the race itself. It was more about his experience covering the race in and around it. And like, honestly, you would see this style come out later on in Rolling Stone interviews where you're hearing from the author inserting themselves into the story. I remember when the Source magazine came out and we would get interviews about like rappers, and you would get the sense that these journalists were hanging out with the rappers, and they would describe like running to the corner store with them or sitting in the living room with their mom, as well as profiling the artists. So it's kind of a big highlight of that. I don't know if he invented it, but it definitely was something that brought that style to the forefront, what he was doing with this race coverage.
And the crazy thing is, from what I read, Sports Illustrated did not publish his article, but other editors, after combing through it and trying to figure out what was fact or fiction, were able to create a novel out of this. And then now, in essence, what we're seeing on screen is supposed to be loosely based on his experience of what happened with him and his lawyer in Vegas, which is like, bro, y'all really did this to some form of degree? Like, y'all were really out there just getting that?
It's hard to say
up?
what was fact and what was fiction, man.
Right.
It's a weird mishmash of both, you know?
And then you also got to factor in, I mean, if your mind is just like not altogether there, you don't know what your perception of reality really is.
I thought it was interesting that he brought his lawyer with him, or allegedly. And you know, like, this ain't really my lawyer. He's my friend that just happens to be a lawyer. And to me, it seems like they gave him a little budget, and he thought, like, well, we can go have some fun. I can do a little work. End up having more fun than they did work. You know?
It's funny because the only time Dr. Gonzo seems like a lawyer when he's advising him to do more drugs, he's like, oh, as your lawyer, I advise you to take all this acid. Yeah. I advise you to take this mescaline.
Yeah. He's such an enabler, man. But you know, just back to the story roots. I think there was another piece that he wrote too, where that kind of got some attention. I forgot the exact name of it, but where he went to like
it was a police drug awareness convention.
Yeah, but not I'm not talking about it in the movie, but there was another real life story that he wrote. Where I think he was covering Nixon's re-election campaign, and he kind of wrote something. I think it became another book as well, or an article. You know, that kind of blew his name up. You know, along the same lines as this Fear and Loathing did. You know? Yeah,
because I mean, in this, I mean, of course, he, as we were saying, he totally missed the mark on the dirt bike race. Like, he's out there. I mean, he's tripping balls, and you know, while he's out there at the race, he ends up thinking that he's out on like the battlefield. Like he's all the way lost it. And then he fires the photographer, and they just, you know, he meets up with Dr. Gonzo again. By this point, now Dr. Gonzo is knee deep in his acid trip, and it's wild because it's like when Duke is all the way turned up, Gonzo is like the voice of reason, and then they flip flop, and that's how they
kind of a teeter-totter existence, man.
And thank goodness for everyone involved, both of them and everyone on the streets of Vegas, that they were not riding that wave at the same time.
But it's also Vegas I think this was Vegas at its peak, you know. This is peak Vegas. This is almost like right before the mob comes in. And it's still this crazy adult playland. Not really many rules. Even the fact that they're acting like you couldn't move yourself around like this in New Vegas, you're going to get spotted. But back then, it's like, all right, let them have their fun and let them have their kicks. But it's a wild journey,
and
man.
It's almost like when the people that work there, especially at the casinos, they see you stumbling and fumbling around. They're like, oh yeah, come on in, because you're gonna spend some money now. You're gonna chase the dragon or do whatever it is that you do.
Yeah, and you're not standing out really, because there's probably some other guy that's drunk just next to you having a great time. It's just a wild odyssey that these guys goes on. Like I think the most, as far as movie that we get out of this, would be the narration, because Raoul is kind of telling the story. We almost get like a Henry Hill narration throughout. And honestly, there are moments where it feels like he's actually on the writing assignment. And I think that's what made that piece stand out, where he's making observations just about the state of the country, society, and Americana at the times. And those can be a little bit poignant. If you're paying attention and listening to what he's saying at certain moments, it's like, yo, this guy's kind of was on a pulse. But imagine if he was making these observations and writing this piece, but he wasn't all jacked up. And it was able to structure this and make it more than what we ultimately got. And I think those are some of the pluses of this film. Rewatching it, like just his crazy observations, even just observing the like when he walks into the lounge and he sees all the people drunk, and there's some really good commentary on society taking place from this guy's mouth in between all the highness and the drunkenness, you know. So, that's kind of cool to me, you know.
I'm with you 100%. I think that the voiceover narration is a vital piece, because also not only does it add to the story, but it keeps us kind of on track with what's going on as a viewer, because without that, we're kind of just like lost. It's just it gets real muddy. It's just almost like just like a pot of spaghetti sauce just being stirred. And you can't really tell the difference.
It kind of is though. Rewatching this now, when when I first saw it, I was blown away. It was funny. I was kind of experimenting with drugs.
That's
some
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
shit in the same way.
It's funny as shit when you're on.
It's 98. Like, I'm 2 years out of high school, so I'm running into some of these experiences and seeing some of this stuff, and it's cool. Probably one of the best depictions of an LSD trip I've ever seen in a movie. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. At the time, but then watching it now, I realized how this is just. You kind of just put a movie on two guys that were just really trash and just going on this journey. And it's like, it's hard to find what this core of this film is meant to be. You know, like I said, those moments of the commentary on society, those are great. But then there's a back end of this thing where it just gets really, I'm like, all right, we're just getting more of this. Like, we've seen an hour and a half of this, or hour enough was crazy enough. The first hour, then the last hour kind of drags. There are things that happens, but it's still an extension of these guys just bumbling around, blasted out of their minds on who knows what and everything in between.
It's kind of like, it almost feels like to me like watching Beavis and Butthead on drugs, like all the way drugged up. And, you know, I even did my own kind of personal experiment while watching this week. You know, I watched it a few times, you know, uninebriated and just, you know, watched it for, you know, movie purposes. And was like, hey, all right, cool. It was a couple of laughs. I love the part where Duke hits Gonzo with the grapefruit in the bathtub. That's hilarious. I don't need no extracurriculars to make that funny. But then, you know, I rolled a fat one and hit that, and I watched it, and I found myself laughing a little more at some of the other stuff that I otherwise didn't really seem too funny. So it's definitely one of those ones where I think if you watch it with enhancements, it kind of hits on a heavier note. But I think that was also the purpose.
Maybe a little bit.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's going to depend on when you run into this film. Like running into it for the first time, it might get you, but subsequent viewings, it got me leaning toward when I look at the. You know, go back and look at the reviews at the time, and those kind of make a little bit more sense to me. You know what I'm saying? When I look at the criticism, because it does have a much higher viewer score than critic score. Yeah. But I think some of these critics were kind of right. You know, when you get to the end of this, it's like, what was this about, though?
Yes, exactly. When you get to the nitty gritty,
where's the character development?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the like what were you trying to say? You know, but I think. Because of the material, like I said, there were some stuff said, you know, with the narration and Hunter's, not Hunter, Raoul's observations, you know, throughout the course. The stuff that you think would become his writings, you know.
Exactly. And
I think that's what his voiceover represents.
Absolutely. And there were some little spot checks with the drug-infused banter between Duke and Gonzo, you know what I'm saying? A lot of it was just, you know, gibberish, that just meaningless nothings. But there were some little things that were being said. It was like, all right, you know, I'm with you, but you know, if you take that, say that in a different state of mind, it definitely carries a lot more weight. Because like I said, the main thing, you cannot watch this and lose sight of the fact that these guys are just zonked out of their mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I guess we'll get to the characters, man, because Raoul, he's interesting, man. He's our journalism guy, and he's wild, man. He's game. He is definitely trying to complete his job, but also fried out of his mind, bro. Like it's crazy when we meet them. Oh my God, the bats.
The bats. Hey, my man gets the fly swatter, bro. And he's like, what is that really going to do?
That kind of set, like, I was just so surprised that it immediately goes to bat shitness. We get a little montage of, like, I guess maybe the end of the 60s and stuff, but then immediately we see these two guys speeding through the desert in this long boat convertible, which is still, like this thing still, like, it still looks so good, man. And they're just zonked out of their minds. And my man's, they're passing drugs back. He was like, man, that's our coke. My man's trying to pour this shit off the top of a briefcase, doing 70 down the highway. We're like, he's oh my God.
And it blows out. He's like, you see what God did to us? He's like, what? Yeah, man. No, you know, I like what Johnny Depp brought as Duke. You know, he actually, he really leaned into his character dynamic. He spent 4 months with Hunter S Thompson. just to kind of learn his mannerisms and especially the way he talks and kind of delivers himself verbally.
He's pretty spot on, man.
Spot on with it.
There's a little bit of extra added to it, but it's pretty much,
it's pretty there. And I thought that it was really cool because of that. Hunter S. Thompson and Johnny Depp became friends, and it made it more easy for Thompson to kind of infuse himself through this movie. Like that big red 71 Chevy Impala convertible, that was his car. That was Thompson's real car. And a lot of the clothes that Depp was wearing as Duke, those were actually Thompson's clothes and stuff that he let him borrow. So, I mean, it gives a sense of like bringing his character to life on screen, portraying him exactly as himself, which in the end goal, it works. I like what we get from Benicio del Toro as Dr. Gonzo.
Oh, it's great.
Just because he's so absurd. As a lawyer, I would not hire him. But as someone to hang out with,
he might be a beast though. He might be.
He might be kind of like Better Call Saul. But I would have to. I don't know. It kind of depends.
Saul's kind of a beast. He's crooked, but he's good at what he do.
Yeah, but I couldn't have him on no trip. Trying to keep me from doing 25 to life. So I don't know, but he's wild because he's like the prime example of someone that goes from 0 to 100. Like he's really chill, and then like when he's doing his thing, like he's riding the wave. It's all good. It's like, yeah, all right, cool. He's got a firm grip on his ride, and then next thing you know, out comes a Rambo knife, and he's like talking about carving Z's in Duke's forehead, and wants to get electrocuted in the bathtub.
Like Raoul's a stoner, but Gonzo is he's a stoner with emotions, because like that stonerness. He's dangerous.
Yeah.
Put it this way, he's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like even as crazy as Raoul gets, he's still a de-escalator. He's avoidant. He's aware enough to be like, dang, we looking crazy out here.
Yeah.
Dr. Gonzo is like, this is our space. We supposed to be here. Like,
and the thing is too is that Duke, like, he has his hallucinations. He sees things that aren't there in that respect. But Gonzo, he sees things the way he wants to see
paranoid.
them.
But he's also got some schizophrenia going on. I don't know if it's like part of his personality or the drugs, because he's
or both.
Bugging.
And then every interaction he has with a female, he's determined that female like wants him in a like a sexual way, and he doesn't take rejection well. And, anything that goes against
that
his
elevator
flow
shit is crazy.
It's
bro.
wild.
He's like
he just
with the knife.
Yeah, with the knife.
I was like, yo, what are you doing?
That's what I'm saying.
What are you doing?
So like. It is wild watching him just kind of.
He sets up a lot of scenarios where they end up having to pack up and run. Yo, let's get out of here before the cops come, bro.
Yes.
And that's a wild guy to hang out with, man. I don't know. I quickly learned I don't want to hang out with people like that all the time.
No.
Like, nah, bro, you too.
But
wow.
I kid you not. I think it's not just his personality. It's because he's the lawyer. He knows the law, and somewhere in that mind of his, he's like, yo, I can defend myself in this if it hits
wild,
the fan.
Bro. He is wild.
But yes, he is a wild dude, man.
He's
just
a wild card.
seeing him in this light was just very, very wild.
We do get some cool cameos from other characters. I like the young Tobey Maguire. They pick him up early, and he's a hitchhiker, and he's just all happy, wide-eyed, like, yeah, I'm going to Vegas. I don't know why he's going there, but he's catching a ride. And quickly realizes he hopped in the wrong car, bro.
Yes, he did. Just the face of fear. He's just right. He's like, well, what in the world? Oh, man.
And it's funny, too, because they're like, I'm looking at this, like, man, it must have been really hot that day. I don't know what is that a wig?
It was a wig.
But then he's sweating bullets underneath that in the desert heat. I'm like, yo, this looks so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, all of this stuff is going on, man. Yeah. The cameos are great,
dude,
man.
he started to look like Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw Part 2, dog.
Because the hair, because he looks like he's like 21 and balding. His blonde locks are going thin.
Strange looking, very strange looking. And then, we get a lot of other spot checks. You get Christina Ricci. She is just poor thing, and they portray her. She was just a young woman trying to get to Vegas so she can show Barbara Streisand pictures that she painted of her, and then she runs into Dr. Gonzo on the plane. He gives her a bunch of acid.
Yeah, that's a little creepy, yo. That does take a really dark turn.
Because I
don't know how old Ricci is in here, but it's implied she's probably underage.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And it's like, and this dude done turned into a cult leader. It's a wild time because one of the interesting things is they're doing a lot of finagling like stuff, playing around with credit and false identities. Because when Raoul comes back, there's a moment he tries to flee, or after Gonzo leaves, and then he comes back, and all of a sudden Gonzo's in this really fancy suite, got the carpet everywhere, and like looking like a cult leader. He's got the clothes.
Wearing a curtain,
It's like, and with this little girl there, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And that's when Raoul is like, yo, this is gone too far, bro. Like what are you doing?
What are you really doing? So that part is just like, man, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy,
this movie
bro.
just really took a turn for the worst. Luckily, it doesn't spend too much time on that, and Ricci is able to get out of the situation. Then you got Gary Busey, who plays like the local sheriff. He's a trip. He's a trip just because Gary Busey is a trip in everything that he's in. But he's like the lonely road sheriff, and he's just kind of he actually gives Duke a break. He pulls him over. He's like, man, you look like you're hammered. You ain't slept. You're drinking a beer right in front of me. You know, you got me in a high speed pursuit. You know, and it's like. Just go to the rest stop, bro. So I mean, it was a cool little spot check with him, and then they said that he improvised the line where before he lets Duke go, he asked him for a kiss, but we don't really see that.
I don't know, bro.
I think
he kissed him.
Yeah, I think he did too.
I think he gave him. I don't know. It's
Johnny
implied,
Depp, in the narrative, Johnny Depp was like he didn't feel right with what happened, so it's like
I don't know. It might have did more than a kiss because that scene is wild.
It's just like what?
I was like, wow, my man had to get out though.
What in the world? Yeah.
It's nutty, man. It's wild. It's crazy, man. There's who else is there? We get a Cameron Diaz in the elevator, which is wild. That's a wild scene. That's a scene too where Dr. Gonzo is wilding out about this woman, and then the scene in the bar. I didn't recognize that till just now. When we were about to do this. I'm looking up the cast. Ellen Barkin as the waitress.
Ellen Barkin's the waitress. Yep.
He disrespects her. He's like, sending her a note. So yeah, he's definitely got a problem with women and just authority. And this is a wild guy, bro.
Yeah, I mean
crazy, man.
Oh, and then you get a small Flea, the guitar player from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He shows up in a Raoul Duke flashback where apparently he's like. I don't know if he's in Woodstock or he's at some kind of concert, and somebody gives him a whole bunch of powdered acid, and he spills it on his sleeve, and then Flea starts licking the LSD off his jacket. So it's just like, some of the stuff that happens, it's just.
Yeah, it's a wild, it's just a wild, we're getting high, man. And that's the thing. I think that's where that criticism comes on because, like I said, toward the back end, it starts becoming repetitive.
Yes, very much so. All
right, this is a gag. Like, how funny can this be? I mean, laughing at these dudes getting high for a couple hours. Like,
almost you gotta
put some more in the mix, but
like it would almost be funny to watch them get unhigh. Sober up now. That'd be funny.
I think, but ultimately coming around though, I think there are some cool stuff that happens, man. Like I like the way Vegas looks in this thing.
Yes.
Man. Like even coming into town for the first time, like there's some really cool shots, and plus it has like the old Vegas feel, like not modernized. So I don't, 98 when they made this, but. Cell phones weren't really kicking. I mean, they were phones, but they weren't that great. No cell phone.
That was that phone that was hooked to the suitcase, right?
Yeah. Well, 98, they had little flip.
Little flips.
Those were coming out, but what I'm saying is, it just has that classic feel to it, man.
It definitely does.
Almost reminds me of what the casinos were looking like in the movie Casino. You know what I'm saying? And these guys are bumbling around. So you get the kind of grand classic architecture, the buildings, the interiors. They have a certain look, the carpets of Vegas. Like, it looks really good, man. They really killed, like, the look of this production design-wise and the cinematography.
Yes. And, one thing I did like, I liked that the portrayal of the one casino that was kind of like a circus.
Yeah. Circus.
Yeah, circus. That's the real one. And then, of course, it didn't want no affiliation with this movie due to the subject matter and the poor press that it probably would have gotten. So they ended up switching it to, what was it, like the Bozo Casino or something. Something. They changed the name and stuff and changed like the entry mascot, like just little changes to avoid any kind of legal infractions and stuff. But it was wild, like just seeing that bar that's on a carousel, like
yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna fall off of that. Too many.
That's gonna make me Earl. You know what I'm saying? Just spinning, like taking shots and spinning and involuntarily. But you're right. Yeah, they definitely, their portrayal of Vegas was really cool because it's like you get these long strips of road, like during the day it's just desert and road and stuff, but then when the lights, once it gets dark, the lights turn on and it's just party city, and they did a really good job with that, shooting it well. And with the cinematography, what I like is that even, like I said, even if you watch this super sober, you still feel a sense of inebriatedness because of the way the film is shot, like the way it's like spinning around and going up and down. There's a lot of really
cool handheld cam stuff going on too, so I think it makes it more intimate experience with these characters, and also in a way, like I'm looking at this scene now, and it looks like they're shooting Raoul with a camera just on a tripod, but in this scene, Dr. Gonzo is wilding out, and they're shooting him with the handheld cam and give it more shakiness, and so that's kind of cool, man. Yeah, just little flourishes like that, man. So that definitely stands out. This, man, the filming and cinematography.
Yes, and then of course it's all encapsulated by music of the time. You get some Rolling Stones, you get some other bands. I didn't ring off a track list. I know, like I said, the song White Rabbit. That's the song that Dr. Gonzo wants to get electrocuted to in the tub when it's peaking, and there's a couple other songs of, like I said, of the era, of the time, that sex, drug, and rock and roll lifestyle that was very prevalent in the 70s. They add that, full-fledged with the music and the soundtrack and everything. So just kind of all adds to the vibes and the aesthetic that the film's trying to present to us in the first place.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's, I don't know, man. Rewatching it, it doesn't have as high esteem as I held it, when I was younger. But I still think it's worth a watch, man. Just to soak in. Like I said, the cinematography definitely stands out. I think Benicio definitely stands out a little bit more than Johnny Depp. But Johnny Depp's Hunter is crazy too, man. He's killing it. And it's crazy too because Hunter S Thompson was very accessible. So there is actually a film called Gonzo you could watch as a companion to this. I recommend. Came out in 2008, and it's got Hunter himself, and it talks more about his writing career and his crazy antics. So if you want more of this guy's work, and shout out to the artist too, man, who designed I can't remember that guy's name, who designed the cover. Yeah. Shout out to Raoul Stedman, man. And he's the one who did this stuff. And like I said, man, he's done work on just a lot of contemporary stuff. Even their artwork, like the Raging Bitch, like IPA, he did that. You know what I'm saying? That's his work.
He has a very unique vision. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it shows on the cover art, and like you said, in other things. For me personally, I can fully understand why this film has a cult following, but also why it failed to the masses. Coming in at an $18.5 million budget, it underwhelmed in the box office, only pulling in $13.7 million. So, with that, it really boils down to subject matter. We talked about, there's only so much of this type of subject matter that people can digest in one sitting.
I think you also need more than just the fact that these guys are getting high. Like there are some things, but it's essentially these two guys just getting stoned, and we've seen films with stoners that are a bit more ambitious and ultimately have more to say at the end of it.
When we had the same kind of conversation when we talked about Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke, but that one had a little bit more going on with it. It was stretched out over a little bit more time, gave us a little bit more of a dynamic, and then ultimately Half Baked, film about people just getting fried, but there was a lot more going on outside of just the obvious. And I think that's where this film kind of just didn't strike the right chords with the masses, which is understandable. I do like this film. It's not one I would run back to repetitively. Now that I got my watches in for this week, I probably won't need to watch this now for a couple years unless I cross paths with someone who hasn't seen it and they get that itch. But I did enjoy my rewatches, and like you said, Benicio del Toro, he stands out in this, but it's also nice to see Johnny Depp play a role like this. comparing to what we see him in films of today. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or a lot of the works that he's done with like Tim Burton, where he's just a lot more serious. It seems like in this one, even though his character had no hair, he really let his hair down. So I like that. Like I said, I recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, give it a chance. You know what I'm saying? But just have some fun with it. You know what I'm saying? Like just don't take it serious, because this film does not have a serious bone in the whole makeup of the story.
Yeah, I just want to correct. Ralph Steadman, it's Flying Dog as a company, not Dogfish. So Flying Dog makes
makes more sense.
He makes all those IPAs.
Like Raging Bitch and all that. Okay, I got you.
All of those.
Okay.
So he did the artwork for those boxes. So when you see that, and that's crazy, because like I said, he first came into major exposure with the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas story.
It's funny because when you said the other one, I thought that's the one I thought you were talking about anyways, because the first one I thought it was those wild looking dogs. You know what I'm saying? I was like, they look.
Yeah, but ultimately, like I said, man, check it out. How far it's going to go with you is going to just depend on your personal taste. I think it's still a milestone film, and there's a reason why it has a cult following, and I think it ultimately did become profitable with DVD and stuff. Criterion actually has it in their collection, so that's kind of significant, just to recognize the overall artistry of it, even if the story's a little thin, but I think there's some crazy and inventive stuff going on with the filmmaking of this,
Definitely.
But yeah, with that said, we're going to wrap this up. You can catch us on the next show. Make sure you follow us on TikTok. That's the only other spot where we're at, posting content, and you can check us out here. Make sure you click in the links, in this video to help support us. You're going to want to buy a copy of this. Fear and Loathing, we'll have a link below in this, as well as, you can buy some merch to support us, with our logo on it. And that's it, man. You can catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter and Instagram.
And this is Bobby Blockbuster. As always, you can catch me on the next show.
Peace.